Hello and welcome to Healing Chat Podcast. We're in episode 6. So today we're diving into a topic that so many students face but often feel alone in, anxiety. So basically the pressure of grades, the fear of the future, maybe the heavy weight of a stressful week can be completely overwhelming. But what happens when we bring our faith into the struggle? So today my guest is Nausicaa. So she's currently a student studying in Cambridge. She's going to share her very personal journey with anxiety and how her relationship with God has reshaped that experience. So welcome. So to start off, could you share a little about yourself and maybe when you just first started noticing anxiety being a part of your student experience?
Yes, definitely. Hi Nicole, thanks for having me today. So as you mentioned, I'm Nausicaa. I'm currently studying at Cambridge, going into my third year. I feel like for anxiety, it really has been part of my life for like so long, but it kind of like manifested in different ways throughout my entire life. So I think the first time when my parents actually noticed like anxiety or fear being part of my life was that it started off being separation anxiety. So when I was a kid, probably when I was like 7 years old, like once I left like very familiar places, I would basically cry. For example, going back to school after a holiday, I would cry watching television when they like show news about like different accidents happening around the world. When I see like cracks on my wall, I'll basically start packing my luggage and ask my entire family to like leave. Well, like thinking about it, you might think it's bizarre, but that was a huge fear back then in my life. So at that time, I was basically diagnosed with separation anxiety. But I think after that period, fear kind of just manifested throughout my life through different ways. So one problem was solved, and then another kind of anxiety just comes back. When primary school, it was exam anxiety, and then when I was older, it was anxiety about illnesses, social public speaking anxiety, and then during university, it was an eating disorder, performance anxiety in my sport. So yeah, it just seems so never ending at the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, so I also understand that anxiety being a part of my life as well, like performance anxiety, exam anxiety, these stuff, I think a lot of us struggle, but then we are kind of hesitate in speaking out or getting help from it because we're just afraid of seeing us as a failure or anything. So can you describe what kind of the anxiety actually feels like for you in those moments, maybe during an exam week or a particularly stressful time? Because for me, I think maybe during an exam week I couldn't sleep at all. I'm just thinking of what happens gonna be during an exam. Even I have study for hours, days and days for it.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. Like, I feel like the thing about anxiety is that that voice in your mind just really sends you down a spiral. Like, it's really like an inner voice in your mind that telling you that, oh, you will fail, you'll basically forget everything that you've prepared for. So it kind of pictures the worst thing that would basically happen. And then the more you hold onto it, the more you believe that it will be true. So it's kind of like self-inflicting. And basically, when these words kind of come, like it also leads to different like reactions to my body. I get stomach stitches. My heart will basically pound really fast. I will basically lose the ability to concentrate with the task that I'm doing, and also I can't really sleep because like my mind will basically be looping all these thoughts in my
Yeah.
mind, and basically, yeah. So that's like before a very stressful event, and then probably like when like after exams or when things just like don't meet my expectations, I cry again because I thought, oh, I've lost everything I've worked for, and it seems like there was like no validation for my worth at that time because I feel like everything was a complete mess. Everything just like doesn't go to plan. When it comes to like public speaking, my mind just turns blank. Yeah, and my inner mind just keeps picturing how other people will basically judge me. So, yeah, that's basically how anxiety was kind of like in control of like my whole mind, my whole body. And yeah, that feeling is just like very horrible.
Yeah, so I totally understand. It's like the inner voice that's basically telling that you're not going to do well, you're going to fail. And the more that you don't want these voices to come out, the more they will. Like, so you basically, if you just try to, like, I don't want to think of this anymore, but then these voices are just not controllable, and basically it's going to be like even worse. So, yeah, so
Yeah.
I would like to shift our focus to like how your faith like become a part of the story, like your journey with anxiety. Like when did you start to
Yeah.
connect with God on a personal level, and how has that relationship specifically changed the way you kind of deal with anxiety?
Yeah, so for me, so both my parents are Christians, have been
Mm-hmm.
Christians for like since I was born. So as a second generation Christian, I feel like when I was young, going to church or like reading the Bible seems like very inherited and just like a casual thing that I do seems very dutiful when I was a kid. So at that time, yes, I know all the verses, I know what the Bible's going on, but deep in heart, I didn't really understand what it meant to be like a Christian or oh why I have to be one or what's its value, what's the purpose of like reading the Bible in general. Yeah, so I feel like especially during the last few years of my secondary school, I was just like so focused on getting my academics, my responsibilities, my sports, like everything right to stand out and excel in my college applications. I was constantly lacking self-esteem at that point. I was just blindly comparing myself to other people, thinking that I wasn't doing enough, constantly chasing for more. So at that time, I felt like I was just completely like not connected to God or just like completely left my faith behind because I was just so focused on like getting everything right, like yeah, around my life. But I think it was until right before I started university, then I actually started to slowly connecting with God. I think, to be honest, I think at that time, even though I did like get offers from like to study abroad or did have like sort of plans of studying abroad, I actually have this inner fear or anxiety of actually taking that step to like go overseas because as mentioned before I had like separation anxiety when I was a kid, so like that fear of uncertainty and unknown just really like hits me, and I would basically picture the worst thing that would actually happen if I go abroad. So um, at that time I was like very hesitant, but while my at that time while my final IB results weren't like as good as what I hoped to be, it actually has managed to just like met my offer to go to Cambridge, which and there were also a lot of signs at that point to just like tell me that okay maybe I should try leaving my comfort zone to like study overseas. And I think at that time I started to realize okay maybe I don't really have to deal with everything myself. Maybe God is here to like is here with me to like have his perfect plan for me. So I just have to trust in him. And I feel like yes, fast forward to like the last 2 years in Cambridge, I feel like it's probably like the toughest that I've ever gone through. I was homesick. It was my first time traveling abroad, studying a new country by myself. I was suffering from seasonal depression. I fell victim of an eating disorder. Yeah, I also developed like really like strong like performance anxiety in my sport. And at the same time, I also had a lot of injuries that kept me from continuing with my sports like different times. However, I feel like at that time, I felt like closer to God than ever before. I feel like these trials that God really set me up were really like hints that he was trying to tell me that okay, I'm never alone. I don't have to be perfect to validate my worth, and I'm allowed to like surrender my anxieties. Yeah, so I feel like looking back, all of these like fear, anxiety were actually kind of based on that one fundamental principle, like the fear of like losing control and fear of losing my worth. So yeah, I wouldn't say that right now my anxieties are like non-existent, but like I feel like when these anxiety, these fear kind of come, I just tell myself that, oh, I don't have to be like, I don't have to fit like the framework of like being successful that like other people define it to be. And yeah, because I don't really have to validate my work because um, God is in control and he has his own plan. And yeah, I think that's basically the whole journey and mindset change that kind of like helped me overcome my anxiety.
So, yeah, it's kind of amazing how the relationship can shift our perspective from the problem to the presence of God, right? Because I'm also a Christian, my mom is also a Christian, so since young, we're always going to church. Well, I cannot say that I'm like fully committed, but then sometimes if I feel like I just don't know who can I rely on, God is the only one that I could. Like sometimes I just feel alone, like there's no one there. I don't think anyone understands. Even I tried to explain and I gave up, kind of gave, I'm not gonna explain anymore. Like no one's gonna understand. I'll just basically talk to God, and I think that kind of relationship helps me to feel that I'm not alone in this like journey. So kind of in those practical moments when the like when your anxiety creeps in, what does turning to the present look like? Like are there specific Bible phrases, like prayers, or perhaps like worship songs that you have been like been like an anchor for you?
Yeah, definitely. There are few verses that I really like that I keep on reminding myself. I really like Psalm. Yeah, one of the phrases in Psalm. It says, "Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will feel fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and staff they comfort me." And also John, do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God and believe also in me. So yeah, I think these verses really remind me that sometimes when my own plans go wrong, I just know that I don't really have to understand everything that is happening right now. And I just have to be faithful in his plan. In terms of songs, I really like this song from Hillsong called Still. So it's really a call for me to like, oh, find peace and rest in God during these difficult times. I trust that He's in control, and yeah, I just can basically find strength in Christ.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear that. I also listened to that song still before. Yeah, so I guess like shifting backwards, what has been like the biggest hurdle, like challenge for you in being like a vulnerable state and telling someone in your community, like, hey, I'm struggling, I'm not doing fine?
Yeah, I think like the thing about like being vulnerable and struggling to tell others about your mental health is probably like very common in especially in Asian culture, right? Because like
Yeah.
you know like yeah, and the thing about like mental health is that like in Asian culture, they really associate mental health or having mental struggles as something like being like very negative. Yeah, it's honestly it's no different from like physical health like struggles, right? Like
Yeah.
um yeah, so at that time, I think the biggest hurdle was that I was scared of being judged and being gossiped about what I've been gone through. Um, because yeah, just people just don't really normalize talking about this in our Asian culture, right? But I think after going to the UK, the thing I learned about is that it's okay to be vulnerable and it's also okay to be not okay. And in fact, in Galatians, it says, bear one another's burden. And a lot of verses in the Bibles also encourage us to like tell us our struggle because um, our strength and power is also it's actually made perfect in our weakness. So yeah, I think during that time there was this mindset shift that um, actually sharing my struggles and sharing my vulnerability to others would actually allow people to actually help to pray for me and um, yeah, it really facilitates that mutual healing effect. And I feel like once I decided to open up my struggles and tell my Christian friends in the community about it, I think I was instantly freed from that shame or fear of being judged. And yeah, I'm just very fortunate that I've this really good Christian community in Cambridge that, yeah, so amazing. They have Bible studies, prayer sessions every Friday that they keep showing up for each other every time when we're struggling, we're very anxious or stressed. I think like sharing your struggles or your, yeah, your struggles and your stress with others really helps to like relieve that burden from you and you know that oh you're not alone or someone else has actually been going through similar trials as you. And at the same time, I think it also really kind of like encouraged me to like continue sharing my experience with other people about how I managed to like overcome these struggles with faith and having the community around me.
Yeah, that's actually I think it's maybe it's because of culture in Asia, and definitely it's super challenging to actually say that you're struggling with any like mental disorders or like just being like anxious, depressed, etc. Because it's always perceived as negative or like it's not a good sign of talking that. They just want things that like positive being said in like maybe in the family or maybe in a friend group, etc. So I think it's your Christian community around you is really like important to support you, right? Like in
Yeah,
contrast to trying to handle it all alone, right? That is so
yeah,
difficult because we need to like maybe share to our friends or like people that understands about like things that we struggle so that we are being heard, understood, etc. So
yeah.
as we look forward to the rest of your studies and beyond, what is one truth about God that after all of this you want to hold on to as you continue to navigate this journey?
Mm, I would say, yeah, probably I would remind myself that I am a child of God and God is great and trustworthy. So he basically brought me here, or every one of us, like here for a reason. And there's actually no need for every one of us to like strive for perfection or validation for anything. Like, there's no point for us to like chase all the standards that other people value or the general society value. We just have to like focus on what God's plan is for us, trust in His providence, and basically use the gifts that He has given me to like honor Him. I just have to believe and declare God's truth over my life so I can just like stay true to myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. So thank you so much for that. Like, it's been my pleasure to be able to invite you to my podcast and having you to share your journey and your relationship with God. So I hope everyone who is listening, if this conversation resonated with you, please share it with a friend who might need to hear it, and remember that you're not alone in your struggle and there is hope to be found. So thank you, and we will see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.